Please, the show where we talk about video games and get spooky, because that's the kind of month it is. It's October, and that means that we're getting festive as shit. Also, because this is super weird. I don't know. Evil Within keeps sending us scary stuff. First,
that's not scary stuff.
The first thing they sent us was a broken mirror, which weirded me out a little bit.
I mean, pre-broken mirrors, that's only like half the bad luck.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I just like that someone else broke it, so I'm not too worried. But they sent us a broken mirror.
Do you think they sent you a broken mirror, or it was broken in transit?
Oh, this was a very intentionally shattered mirror, and they sent us a black umbrella. I guess because of opening it inside, and now they sent us this black cat. And once we got to the cat, I'm kind of on board.
The cat was what did it for you.
I mean,
well, they probably thought we were doing too much. We might be scaring them a little bit. We're coming in hot.
Back a little.
Let's soften it up.
Look at this cute little demon cat with like painted red eyes. They're custom done. You can see the paint on them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so I'm just waiting for them to send us a ladder.
I feel like the fun would come with breaking the actual glass yourself.
Right? Yeah. I mean.
Yeah,
I think Ryan's thinking the same thing I'm thinking.
It's Evil Within 2, marketing stuff. They send out really weird stuff sometimes. I was not doing any, I think I was working for Ubisoft when they sent this out, but one game, I think it was a Mafia game maybe, sent out brass knuckles.
Nice.
Yeah, those are illegal.
Well, only if they call them brass knuckles.
But do you want to look up and see what game was that sent out brass knuckles? It was, it's a good time. Everyone was really amused, but also.
Well, they were made out of copper, so it was okay.
Real soft. What if you get pure gold ones? It basically doesn't even hurt, right? It'll just mush.
And you can retire.
Also that. Budget's great. So today on Glitch Please, we're going to be talking about, Cuphead, which is a new release, came out. It's an Xbox exclusive on console, and then it's available on PC as well on Steam and the Windows Store. And has I need physical therapy after playing it. We can talk through the SNES Classic. Oh, we should bring one in from the other room, actually.
One in? How many do you have?
Jeez.
Well, Nintendo sent us one, so we could take gameplay capture, and then I also ordered one. So now I have one.
You actually got one.
Some of us are struggling to get one.
I got this. Hold on. It went in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't pay no attention to the as it rolls around on the floor, because it totally went in. No, it's that's the noise in the bottom of the trash can.
We shot something somewhat a couple of days ago where Ryan kind of just nailed it instantly. So I was like, if he nails this, I'm like, Ryan, you gotta profit off of this somehow.
I only got I can do that once a year.
Once a year?
That was my one for the year.
Ooh, it's October.
I saved it. Yeah. I saved it. I wanted to make sure. It's a video that's not out yet. Well, we need to make that come out. Yeah, I've been teasing it a lot. I may be over teasing it now.
It's overhyped. It's gonna be a disappointment. Alfredo, this is your first time joining us on Glitch Please.
This is. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. I mean, we've known each other for years, so I kind of almost forgot to introduce you to the audience. But everyone, this is Alfredo. Alfredo is new to Achievement Hunter, just moved down from San Francisco, is the current ringer in absolutely every game where they actually might need some skill. Was that accurate to say?
Pretty accurate. Well, I mean, I hear
the shooty head
guy?
He
had a little bit of a oops on the extra live stream.
You had an oops? Alfredo,
they
what
choked
happened?
it away a bit.
The first game on the extra live stream, I got down to a 1v1.
And to be clear, this is the extra life
recruitment stream.
Yes.
I got down to a 1v1. And the guy had a silencer, and I had Jeff and Jeremy just babbling in my ear. And then
as they do.
And then I died.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
We're all very disappointed.
I've played in actual tournaments for years and years. All good. I'm calm, relaxed. With those guys and then the extra live stream, I was shaking for some reason.
If you haven't learned,
they had me shook.
If you haven't learned, that's kind of what we do.
Oh, I know. I know. I just gotta adapt and learn.
But you have you're one of those gamers that has that sort of innate skill to just be really, really good. You practice a lot as well, but you
kind of have to be if it's one of the I've been playing pretty much solely FPS games for 10, 15 years.
Right.
Kind of should be.
I wish that meant that you would become skilled immediately, but it does not. It does not, actually.
Yeah, does that carry across to other games like platformers? I guess we'll talk about that when we get straight into the Cuphead discussion, because there's so much Cuphead. Oh my God. The last thing that we'll talk about today, we'll talk about Cuphead and SNES first. Last thing we'll talk about, we'll run down some of the news stuff. Some pretty major stuff happened this week with PlayStation in particular, so we'll run through all of that. But let's start with Cuphead, shall we? Mm-hmm. All right, Cuphead. This is a game that
Up on his head.
This is
I'm ready.
a Glitch Please exclusive. It's just come out now.
Ryan's dedicated.
You got to appreciate it. So it came out for Xbox and it came out for PC, both Windows Store and Steam. So it is available. Apparently, it doesn't have really good keyboard mouse support. Don't try and play it keyboard mouse.
Why
Don't try and play it
would
with just.
Yeah.
Look, some people like to challenge themselves in weird ways. There are already people doing deathless speedruns of this game in an hour.
Wait, deathless?
Deathless speedruns in an hour.
Jeez.
I
So-
can see it being a speedrun game.
This game is it's a side-scrolling run and gun, but it also looks and plays to some degree like a platformer. So there are both platforming elements and run and gun elements, and you play as Cuphead or you play as his brother,
Mugman.
brother, friend. I'm not sure the exact relation, and you are. So the premise is you got gambling. You gambled too much. You accidentally gambled your soul away to the devil. And he says that he'll let you off if you go ahead and collect all the other souls from people who owe him their souls instead.
Basically,
It's all Cuphead's fault, though.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mugman
was like, no, don't do it.
This isn't
Cuphead
a
was
good
like,
deal.
what?
Cuphead was like,
Roll
in
the
it.
dice. So they are now going through this world and they have to beat all these bosses. It's a very boss fight-centric game.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's 90% of it, right? There's every now and again they throw in like a level just so you can.
So the way it's
around for a
broken
bit,
down
but
is,
relax for a
the
second,
main
kinda.
things, the things you need to do to get from one area of the game to the next are you have to beat these bosses. You have this list and you have to beat all the bosses. There are two modes. There's the simple mode and the regular mode, and you have to beat them on regular in order to progress.
Oh, really? I've never tried simple.
You have to.
what
The
is-
simple, I've tried it. It tends to be, it's like just a slightly different version of the boss battle where instead of having 4 phases, maybe it has 2. And if
Why would you
instead
do
of
that to
instead
yourself?
of shooting out 4 bullets, maybe it shoots 3. I do it just to see what I'm getting into.
Yeah, but then you have to do it again for
Yeah.
real.
Well, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to do it again 100 times. So at least I
then
know what I'm going
also
into, and I can feel like I beat it just once.
So if the boss dumbs it down too, then you kind of still go into it somewhat in having to relearn it.
It is still a bit of a bitch, but I over the weekend introduced it to Bernie's youngest, Teddy. Who have you played with Teddy at all?
No.
He's a bit of a savant. He's really good at just sitting down and playing games.
just
You know, just
getting
like,
into it.
what is this? Oh, got it. Like that tutorial that gave Dean Takahashi so much trouble, he was through in about 30 seconds.
Oh, so he's a gaming prodigy.
Well, to
Yeah.
be fair, that tutorial was something
much
that
a
a
tutorial.
4-year-old should be able to do. I'm not saying he's 4. I'm saying that a 4-year-old should be able to do it. Sorry to that journalist.
Yeah, well, one of the nose writers, Brian, he played it with his 7-year-old, and the same thing. So.
I'm sure it was not a challenge.
No, but the game itself is punishing.
Yes,
It
that
is
is the only
extraordinarily
happy moment
difficult.
that you will have playing the game is doing the tutorial.
Congratulations, you did it.
I was not gonna lie, I raged at the tutorials.
Really?
Yeah, so my whole Cuphead experience so far has been in 2-player mode, which a lot of people would argue that it's harder.
I've heard it.
And
Really? Because
It
I was hoping
really-
that it would be easier so that I could have a little bit of a leg up.
that you think it would be easier, but it's hard to track 2 people. Like to track yourself with 2 people, and like there's so many things. It just doubles the things that are going on the screen.
So I've not got to play the co-op yet. I asked Bernie to, and he was like, "This is not a game that we should play together." I think he remembers Flock. And
yeah, there is some tension with my girlfriend and I when we were playing.
it's couch co-op, like you share the screen?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so you just shared up the screen. Honestly, for us, it got to the point where, okay, we would try to save each other, but then that would throw the other person off of their rhythm. And it got to the point where it's like, okay, like, I would die, and Jackie my girlfriend would just be like, okay, like I'm just gonna continue now that like there's not all this fuss on the screen, or vice versa. That's how we never finished it. We never finished a boss together. We always finished it like solo.
Okay.
Someone dying like through
Okay.
the fight.
Nothing
But-
better to help a relationship than realizing that you're better off than the other person. dead.
Yeah, it's not the best relationship, kid.
This is save you, but really my life is easier right now.
So the thing in co-op too is you can revive each other. How do lives work then? Because in the game, if you're playing single player, you can get hit 3 times.
Yeah.
Or
and
4
then-
if you get a mod.
Yeah,
Mod.
you can get like one
Probably
thing,
not
so you
worth
can have
it
4.
to get that one, but
I do that a lot on planes. There's 3 different types of levels. There's the regular bosses. Then there are plane bosses where you're in a plane and you're in the sky and you have to fight a flying boss. And then there are run and gun levels. So the plane fights and the on the ground boss fights are the ones you need to complete in order to move on to the next island. The run and gun levels are the ones where you can collect coins, which you can then spend on modifications. So that might be a different type of ammo. So you can get the ammo that, like the weapon that automatically tracks.
like the gun on screen. I've never even
Yes.
I never used the
Oh, I
tracking one.
love the tracking
Yeah?
one. The tracking one does less damage.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't
But
grab
I'm
it.
fine with that. If I'm jumping around and I wouldn't be shooting at him right now, anyway, then I would be. I'm at least doing some damage I wouldn't be doing
That's
otherwise.
what the donuts are for, because you just fill the screen with the little flying donuts.
Flying
little boomerang
donuts.
things, and they just will loop back and hit them.
I don't think I know those ones.
It's
Is that another one of the
I think it's like
modifications?
the first one you can buy. I forget what it's called though. The ones that it's
went-
like the boomerang shot. That
I haven't used that one yet.
No?
I went
What do
with,
you
I
use?
went with the smoke dash.
well,
Oh,
you can have the smoke dash
is
and a
fantastic.
weapon mod too.
But you can have.
I don't
so
have enough money.
there are a couple
I'm a
categories.
poor Cuphead player, Ryan.
Ryan, the
Couple
weapon mod you're
categories.
talking about is roundabout.
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 Okay.
Okay.
Very
yes.
useful.
So one of the categories is your weapon, and you can have 2 weapons.
Yep.
So you have, you start off with your pea shooter. You can get the roundabout. You can get, there's another one, it's called an 8-way, I think, and that one is kind of like a shotgun. It has a cone-shaped damage and does really heavy damage, but
Very
it's
short range.
really
Close
short
range, yeah.
range. And then there's the auto-tracking one. There are a couple of other ones as well. Then there's another slot that you can dedicate to what's called a charm. And that could be your extra life. So instead of having 3 hits, you can take 4 hits. Or you can get the smoke dash, which is awesome.
So
Except
I probably should have slowed it down a bit because I kind of was just like, I just want to get to next fight. I ended up buying both of those, the extra health and then the dash. And I was like, oh, I can only equip one at a time.
That's true, but you just end up having to specialize it for the level. So on a
Yeah.
plane level where you can't dash anyway, equip the extra health. If you're having,
that's a fair point. Yeah.
if you're having trouble getting through a level, you're like, I'm so close. You're not doing a lot of dashing in that level anyway. Go ahead and you're not, equip the extra health. Or if you're doing a lot of dashing, there's one run and gun level that I used. I was just like smoke dashing through balloons because if I hit the balloon, it was just a pain in the ass, and I was bouncing on a trampoline and didn't want to deal with it. So it made it a lot easier to just do that. I was more likely to take a hit if I didn't have smoke dash anyway.
Well, and the game punishes you for any HP lost as well, because you get to the end of the level and then it'll give you a grade, and one of the categories of things that it grades you on is how many HP you have left. And there's no getting HP back in the middle of the game. So it's if you take a hit and
That's
you're
it.
going for a perfect score, you might as well just go ahead and restart. Thankfully, restarting is very quick, which is a very big thing with games that you are going to repeat a lot, is you can hit replay and it'll just start over immediately.
It is the level, like the actual level loading when you go from the sort of overworld island into a run and gun level or into a boss fight. That loading time can actually be kind of annoyingly long.
Is it?
I was annoyed.
I never even noticed it.
I was annoyed mostly because I just wanted to get
Yeah,
to
get
it.
back into it.
Or if I'd drop out to like change weapons or something and then have to go back into it. It was just kind of like, eh.
Yeah. I'm glad it's not something like the Souls or like Bloodborne games where it's like you die and it's like, ooh, he has my souls and I need to go run past all these enemies and I could die on the way there, and sometimes it's too far. The
Yeah.
bonfire is too far or whatever. So yeah, no, I like that you get to just keep going over and over because it's hard. It's a difficult game.
It's
not
really
really-
hard. Have you checked how many times you've died?
Oh, there's a listing somewhere?
There
Yeah,
is.
it's like a pool,
on
right?
this on the
Oh,
second
wow.
island, once you beat all of the bosses on the first island, you can progress to the second island that's kind of carnival themed. And there, if you go to the very bottom of the map and to the right, there is a pool, and if you talk to the pool, it will tell you how many times you died.
Ooh, that'll be a depressing conversation.
I am now 500 plus deaths.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I have no idea how many I'm at. I'm on the second island, but I haven't gone to the pool.
I did something. So I wanted to do some gameplay capture for Glitch Please, but also to be perfectly honest, I just wanted to feel a little bit better about myself. So after the second island, there are 2 bosses in particular on that island that just wrecked me. One of them is this stupid clown.
Oh,
that-
I think I was just fighting the stupid clown.
That clown is an asshole.
Really?
I hate him so much. And the other one, let's see, the other one where I died quite a lot might have been Baroness von Bonbon.
Baroness von Bonbon.
Yes.
Is that the one in the
That's the candy lady.
Yeah. In the
Yeah.
candy castle?
Yeah.
That comes alive and tries to eat you?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I got to the point where I could consistently beat all of her minions, and then she would come out and I would just get wrecked. So, but I got through it eventually. Hated myself, like, Ashley, you suck at games.
Aw.
You shouldn't even be playing games. It's time to quit your job, hang up your hat, and go live like in a mountain lake somewhere where you can't hurt anyone
Meditate
or
for
yourself
days.
ever again. So
Just like you weren't
instead of
hurting
doing
the boss.
all of that, I went back to the first island. And I played through the run and gun levels again, and I played all the bosses again, and I felt so much better.
Well, because you already learned all those.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not just learning though, it's also the execution and having thrown myself at the wall of some of I am told by the internet that the clown and Baroness von Bonbon are 2 of the harder bosses in the game.
Really? Okay.
So after throwing myself at those walls
I
for so
find
long,
that hard to believe.
going backwards a little bit to some bosses that were at least more straightforward, I felt way better.
I find that hard to believe. Having seen some of the things that Jeremy's also playing it, and he's a lot. I think he's on the 3rd island.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the
Maybe-
things he's dealing with.
I'm just like, fuck. no.
Maybe these
Yeah.
kind internet souls are just trying to give me the
Yeah.
courage to
Hoping.
go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's entirely possible.
They want to see your spirit break completely when you get to the next one.
There is one thing that I've now done after some experimenting that's helped immeasurably, and that is remapping.
Oh, your
So
keys.
by
yeah.
default, the shoot button is the X button, while the jump button is the A button, and the dash button is the Y button. So
Yes.
if you're trying to run and jump at the same time, or shoot and jump at the same time, it's not easy. And
Well, shoot and
also,
jump
if
is
you're
okay.
doing it for, well, but if you're doing that for like 8 hours,
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, my hands got real sore.
The rider starts kicking in.
Real sore, yeah, and it's just like it starts to like get really stiff, and so
Let me see your thumb.
lack
Do you have
the
like a
dexterity.
button-shaped indention? A little bit.
I kind
You
of
kind of do.
kind of do, but that might also just
Oh,
be,
wow, you really do.
that might also just be my thumb. But I remapped it to the right trigger, which isn't used otherwise in the game. I remapped shoot, so now I just hold down that right trigger the entire level, because even if I'm not shooting something effectively, I'm shooting.
Yeah.
And that's all good. And if I've got those homing missiles, then missiles. I wish they were missiles. Those homing rubber bullets. Then at least
of
I'm doing
love bullets.
something.
Speaking of
love.
controls, I might have just been a complete moron, but we're mapping 2 players with the controls was actually like a little confusing. Like restoring it to default. Like you can choose player 1 or 2 and like which one you map. But whenever you hit restore default, it resets everything on both
sucks.
on both ends. So I had to make that connection. And then also there's a plus and minus for when you map too. So I mapped my dash on LT, and I wasn't,
okay.
the left trigger, and I wasn't dashing at all. And then people were saying, oh, it's because it's like LT minus, it needs to be LT plus. So like LT plus is a trigger pull. Apparently like LT minus is like a release.
So you'd have to pull and release. But
I guess it's hold and release in order to trigger it.
that's
And I'm like, why is that even an option? And so for the longest time, I was like, I can't dash. What is going on? This isn't working. But then it's like, yeah, it has to be LT plus for you to able to pull the trigger and then dash. I was like, that was confusing.
Yeah, there's a lot about the game that frustrates me, but a lot of it is something like I acknowledge that it's my fault. I have
Yeah, that's
failed
probably my
this
fault.
game. Like
It's
every
probably
time,
somewhere in the menu or
every
something.
time. Well, not that part. That is just like maybe
That
they
might
didn't
be bad
spend enough
UI.
time on
That's
it.
bad UI.
Weird. It's just weird.
But in the game itself, like every time I die, I know why I died. I know what I did wrong. I know that it was stupid, and I know that I can do better. I know that I need to do better. I just sometimes.
the challenge doesn't feel insurmountable. It just feels challenging.
Yeah, it feels like I just need to be better. I know exactly what I need to do. There's no confusion there. So, like, there's that. It's managed to master that element where I don't hate the game. I just hate myself.
Yeah.
It's really turned you on you.
Yeah, it has, which is really what you want in a challenging game, right?
Yeah.
But it is, though.
You get to that point where
You don't want to feel like
playing
it's cheating.
and you're trying to figure it out. and then like, okay, you kind of like get through the first phase and the second phase, like, and then third phase, like, well, this is bullshit. Like, this is terrible. This is hard. Then you get back into it, and then you start learning the mechanics, and you're still just frustrated. But then, yeah, you get to that point where you're just like, I just need to execute. Like, I know exactly what each phase is, what it brings to the table. I just need to execute like this boss.
Yeah, like, and you get to that point too where, because a lot of the bosses will have 4 phases. In fact, every time the announcer comes on at the beginning of a level and goes, a grand slam, and then someone like, you get fucked. Fuck right off with your 4 phases. And you get to the point, because by the time you get to the end phases, they're super difficult. They're asking way more of you than the beginning phases, which feel like warm-ups in comparison. But you end up having to get so perfect at phase 1, and then you get to phase 2, and you die a bunch, and you get set all the way back, and so you get better at 1, and then eventually you get goodish at 2. But it's this sort of just ongoing progression where you hit phase 4, and you have to be pretty damn perfect at phases 1 through 3 and get through at least 2 of those probably without taking a hit, because otherwise you're not going to make it through phase 4. And so it's like the pressure to be perfect is pretty strong.
I'm telling you, you got to get rid of these self-guided projectiles. That's slowing you down.
Yeah.
The roundabout does
on this level
high
it
damage.
absolutely on this level it absolutely does. I haven't tried the roundabout yet.
You should get the roundabout.
The weapons that I've tried, I've used the pea shooter. I've been using this auto-guided one. This one helped out a bunch for bosses where I had to be moving around a whole bunch. This boss is actually wasted. It's totally wasted on this boss. This was a mistake. This was slowing me down.
Couldn't not hit them facing either direction.
Right, but there are levels like when you fight the flower, and if you're on the bottom, then it's really difficult to hit him in the face. It's useful for that if you're running around trying to avoid carrots and boomerangs and all that anyway, to do some damage. And then if I get up on his level, switch back.
The roundabout does higher damage, and it will sort of fill that void for you, because just by the way it goes, even if you have to turn, it's a little bit shorter range, so you won't be able to shoot all the way across the screen. You got to stay kind of middle distance. But even if you have to turn around, if you turn around, it'll go forward and then come all the way back across the screen.
Oh, great. Okay.
So if you can't hit them shooting this way, you just shoot that way. Okay. It fires a little bit slower than the pea shooter, but it feels like it does way more damage.
Okay, I will try
Definitely
it out.
worth trying out.
There are a lot of cool different modifications you can get. I've barely dipped into them. I am looking forward to doing more though. I'm just so poor. There's coins.
The coins are
just
sparse.
not enough coins.
I'm telling you, man. I'm also about to doing high damage and just get me through these phases as quickly as possible. Like, I don't want to, I'm barely holding it together. Just get me through the next phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. These, the other thing I like about this though is we haven't even touched on this yet, but it's one of the things that initially I think hooked a lot of people onto paying attention to this game is the art style and the sound design. So it's designed to look like 1930s cartoons. But did you know that there are modes you can unlock to turn it black and white?
I did not.
There are. Ben, can you look up the exact conditions? But I'm pretty sure to do black and white, you have to beat all of the run and gun levels without killing anything. Well, without unkilling anything unnecessarily. So there are bosses at the end of some of the run and gun levels that in order to progress, you have to kill them. But there are parts, like any part you can get through without killing something, can't kill it. It's like the pacifist run.
Okay.
You have to do all of them.
Smoke bomb would make that very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's another thing that you can unlock, another mode, if you do like A+ runs on all the bosses, which is never gonna happen for me.
No, it's doable. I've got A on everything on the Island 1.
I'm due on Island 1 now, but I've resigned myself. I will never be getting an A+ on some of those Island 2 bosses. I don't even want to talk about Island 3.
What about S?
Ryan, you need to just
I didn't even know S existed. I'm just trying
I
to
didn't know until the other day either.
I just can't even with you right now.
I assume
What
you only
is
get
that?
an
What
S
does it
on expert
require?
mode. I think you may have to play it on expert mode to get an S.
I'm
not sure. I've never, because I've done.
You're correct. I believe you have to complete it on expert, which
Okay.
unlocks after you beat the game. For the black and white mode, you have to complete all 6 of the game's platforming stages without shooting unnecessarily, basically. So yeah, you were right.
Huh.
Wow.
And then what's the one that you get if you get an A+ on every level?
Let me look that up. I'm seeing black and white mode and audio filters as 2 of the options you can unlock.
Okay,
for
maybe
vintage.
I'm thinking of the audio filters
Okay,
then, and
I'll look
that's
it up.
where you have to get it by beating expert.
Okay.
There
me
was
see
a
what I
really
can find.
popular post going around of a guy that took Cuphead and like rigged it so he was able to play in an old school like black and white TV.
Oh, that's cool.
It was just cool, but also like there's a black and white mode.
Look, he's just
Yeah,
happy
but,
with
you
himself
know-
for having done it.
Also,
Exactly.
like, guess which one is going to be easier to do?
Yeah,
Oh, it's not
I
about
wonder if
being
there's a-
easier. It's about being cool.
it's true. His hipster level is
Hipster,
like
yeah.
way through the roof right now.
I wonder if my TV has a black and white mode.
Your TV? I doubt it.
I don't know.
Maybe
You
you
never
could,
know.
Down
like,
the
have you ever tried
contrast or
just turning?
something?
They've got like their movie modes or whatever. Who knows? Maybe they're all smart TVs now. They can patch in black and white modes.
You could probably turn off they usually have on-screen displays. If you take the color and the saturation all the way down, maybe it'll be black and white.
I might give it a go. That sounds a lot more achievable than beating the game on expert or
No.
doing a pacifist run.
Yeah.
So apparently, if you get A's on all of the bosses, you unlock a 2-strip Technicolor mode, which
That's
is
the
another
one I'm
filter you
thinking
can
of.
throw up.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are some really cool hidden things in there that I will never see. But I appreciate they put them in there for the people who are really good at it because once or twice when I've gotten stuck, I've gone on YouTube and looked up videos to be like, maybe I'm just approaching this whole thing wrong to see like what the different boss phases are asking of me. And it turns out that no, there are people that are very good that are going through doing all 3 parries, that are doing it without taking any damage, who are just doing A+ runs on all these bosses, no big deal. And
Are they cycling through different weapons depending on the boss?
typically,
Okay.
yeah.
The that parry requirement, because again, that's another one of the things when you get to the end of it, and the way you're graded is you have to have your health points, time, you have to complete 3 parries,
And they
6
have to
super
be
shots, and there's
also-
2 skill stars.
They have to be optional parries as well. So there are some things like when you're fighting the 2 frogs.
Right.
The final phase is when it's a slot machine and you have to parry into the knob or it looks like a boxing glove to probably one of the frog's boxing gloves to pull it down. And that does not count as a parry because you have to do it in order to
advance.
So they got to be optional.
I always wondered why that was not giving me any. Every time you complete a parry, it gives you superpower to unleash your super move, and that one never did. So that explains it.
Yeah. So a fun game though. I'm really enjoying it. There are a lot of people saying, "Oh, I wish this was on Switch. Are they going to put it on Switch?" It's not coming to Switch. And this
No?
is a Microsoft. Like this is one of those hallmark. Cuphead is kind of their exclusive for the holiday. Like for the whole rest of the year, that's what they got. Which
Oh dear.
it's really good.
It's good.
It's really good. It's not your typical AAA, super crazy, cinematic, ambitious shooter. It's very, very good at what it does. If you like to hate yourself, if you like run and guns, if you like platformers, wonderful game.
I do like to hate myself.
Yeah, it's like in spite of how much it's damaged me, I don't really have anything bad to say about
It's
it.
so charming, though.
It's so charming.
Really, yeah, it's something about
That's how
the.
they get you.
It is, right? Yeah.
They just pulverize you.
They put this very beautiful veneer over a bunch of pain,
Yes.
And really, isn't that what life
Slap
is
that on
all
the
about?
box.
basically.
But it does call back to a lot of the unforgiving sort of like retro games, which is appropriate because the SNES Classic is out, and I think we should talk about that too.
Damn.
Oh, I forgot about the whip dangle.
The whip dangle. Ben, can I ask anybody to grab the SNES Classic out of our office?
I'll go grab
please? Thanks.
One of the-
Oh, yay, someone's already grabbing it. So the SNES Classic came out last Friday. Nice job, Ryan.
Saved it.
Nice job. You did save it. You are Cuphead.
Yeah.
And I got mine. I ended up ordering mine via GameStop
After
And-
much tribulation.
after much tribulation. So that first day of pre-ordering was such a nightmare because I think I missed Amazon's going up because they just sort of went up and it was unexpected, and of course they were immediately gone. So the rest of that entire day consisted of waiting for Best Buys to go up, for waiting for Walmarts to go up, for Targets to go up, and GameStops. And every single time, like I would hit the site along with, a million other people. The moment there was any hint that they'd gone live, and they were already gone.
Little did you know they're going to be releasing them through 2018, so it's not going to be a problem for you to get one.
I want Wow.
You probably won't get one then either. That's I don't feel like that's gonna be. Oh, look how long
Yay.
those cords are on the
Yeah,
controller.
so
Perfect.
remember the NES
tiny.
Classic, the major thing was that it had like it was with like a
a
3-foot
3-inch?
cable. You had to have it right here so that really if you looked at it, it looked like it was a normal sized NES.
But it had a really long cable on this part.
Yeah, but like it did expect it to be really close to you. So these are at least 6 feet cables, and it comes with 2 controllers instead of 1 this time, which is also a bonus.
Nice.
And see, it reaches all the way from you to you. Aww.
Just like I remember, only tinier. Oh no, it's just that I've grown. I get it now.
You're just so much bigger. And it has, so this one has 21 games, including Star Fox 2, which never officially released. Yes, there are ROMs out there, but this is its first official.
A lot more now.
Official release. Yeah, a lot more now. And you have to, I think you have to beat the first level of Star Fox to unlock it. So we did that. We unlocked it.
Nostalgia.
Yeah. It was like,
feel
look,
like
in
I
fact, look at
remember.
this.
Let's see.
Look at this. Look what I did.
Let's see. Oh, that does feel like I remember.
Yeah, right?
Been plastic. Boy,
So happy about it.
I can't wait till it turns yellow.
We were playing it a bit, and it's really a good experience.
I've heard some mixed things about it. A lot of apparently there's a lot of those games that, well, as you would
Some of
imagine,
them
just don't
age
hold
better
up.
than
Yeah.
others.
Like Star
It's
Fox, I've heard, is
absolutely true.
very choppy.
Yeah, we like Star Fox was a bit of a punishment to play to some degree, but it's also kind of cool to see where where they're like, look, we're like so close to 3D, guys, and like see that evolution in gaming technology. So I really do like it from that angle. I
Look,
think
it's
I'm
got
doing this wrong.
polygons, maybe like 4 of them.
Anyway, and the first game I played when we plugged it in was Donkey Kong Country because I never had an SNES. Did you have an SNES?
I did, but I
did.
didn't have many games for it.
Okay, you?
No, I was on that weird
How
path.
old were you when the SNES came out?
I was born in '89.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll give
so
that to you.
yeah.
I never had one. I had an NES, and then my family skipped up to the Nintendo 64 and was like, "Here's your NES with your 1 cartridge, and you'll like it." And so I played SNES at my friend's house. We used her brother's Super Nintendo, and so we played whatever games he had, and that consisted largely of Donkey Kong Country and Sunset Riders. And Sunset Riders not included in this collection, so I've got my like 1 super nostalgia game, and it is Donkey Kong Country, which if I'm gonna have a nostalgia game for SNES, that's a good one to
Donkey Kong's
have.
a good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
But there are so many other games on this that I now get to play for the first time that like I missed out on that element. I'm gonna go back. I'm backfilling my childhood is what's happening.
And how do you feel that's going?
I suck at Ghouls and Goblins.
Well, everyone did. That was the point.
Yeah,
That was like the
that's
Cuphead of its
really
time.
hard.
Yeah.
And but it's really cool to have, Super Mario Kart. It's fantastic.
Is
that
it?
one?
Does it hold up?
It actually
I was about
does.
to say,
It
what
actually
doesn't hold up.
No,
and what
it
holds up?
actually does hold
I mean,
up.
after playing Mario Kart on your Switch, though, how do you play Mario Kart on here and not just be like, eee?
You should come over to our office and play it because for the first maybe lap, it takes some getting used to because you're gonna try and be like sliding around and that's not entirely necessary.
Well, it's okay because I'm not good
Super
at
Mario Kart.
Mario Kart on any platform. I've never even played
Well, there
Super
you
Mario
go.
Kart, so I know nothing about it. I have no prior prejudice, which is probably worse because I have no like happy memories
Right, you don't
to
have the
carry me
emotional
through it
hook.
either. Yeah.
But it controls really well. Like all the carts are great. You can see the roots of where Mario Kart has gone, and you're just being tortured by a little bug or
Bugs
two.
everywhere.
There you go.
There was a moth
Nope,
earlier.
Over there. No, over. You know what? Whatever. It's Halloween. Their decorations. Don't kill the decorations, Ryan.
The decorations. The bug said.
Yeah. So I quite like how it controls. What favorite Super Nintendo game?
Probably Link to the Past.
Okay.
I had a Super Nintendo, but I did not have a very wide catalog for it.
What kind of games did you have?
I had Link to the Past. I had obviously Super Mario Brothers. I think I had Mega Man 10, which is on here. Secret of Mana, which I got to see they're remaking, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I got to play it for a minute at PAX. The re-release. version
I'm
is gonna
really
be
excited for
It
I'm
looks amazing.
excited to be able to play that
It's
now.
so pretty.
And there are a lot of people understand, and I totally understand this, who are very much in the camp of, what's wrong with you? Go buy a Super Nintendo, which is
Like a regular one?
yeah, like an actual Super Nintendo.
Can you still do that?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you can get them. They're kind of collector's items-ish now, in that if you get one, it's probably a little yellow.
I probably own one.
You
I
might-
don't know if it'll still turn on, but those things are pretty hard.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
A lot of like
Super
there's
expensive to get.
the price. You go through that phase where it gets old and the price goes way down, and then it gets older and the price goes back up. So it's back on that upswing.
There's an Austin local shop called Game Over Games that sells a lot of those older school platforms.
They come to RTX a lot. They're great.
Yeah, they're awesome. Super Nintendo is selling for $80.
Yeah. So, then you do have to buy the game cartridges as well.
Yeah.
Which is, so you get that additional expense. But the reason I haven't done that is largely because I want to play the games. I'm also lazy. And, we've got a 4K TV, and I'm not sure the 480p is going to, if it's even
transition
480p,
that
is even going to scale up all that well. Whereas at least this is made to output at HD.
Yeah,
As
that makes
opposed to
sense.
trying to like sit across, like all the way across the room so that it looks small enough to look okay.
Yeah.
So that's why I haven't done
You have
that.
to deal with like
but it is
finding
still
controllers that are like in a decent shape too,
that too.
and aren't just like beaten up over time.
What a
Yeah.
range, by the way, on Google, just searching for Super Nintendo. We have these two prices next to each other, $999 and $324. So,
God damn.
boy,
Somewhere between there.
yeah,
you'll
you
grab
can
one.
get it for a price.
Well, I mean that just might be the case then. If you really want the original experience, keep an eye out.
Yeah.
That's less of like I need it day one because, buddy, I gotta tell you something.
I don't know what I would plug it into. Like, as you mentioned, like,
Right, like,
there's
you're gonna
not
have to-
a,
you're gonna
I
have to
don't
get
own a
adapters.
TV. Yeah.
And then and the adapters you're probably gonna get some loss of quality there.
I'm pretty
you're gonna have to
sure-
go from analog. Is it analog? To
It would
analog
have been
to
analog
digital.
TV, yeah.
And then you're
Though
and then you're
it's inherently
scaling
digital,
up
but-
to HD, and there are just so many places where it can lose some of that fidelity. And the games look great on the SNES.
I'll just wait until it's, you know what I mean? Like, and just grab it sometime
someday.
next year. If it was like a mini nostalgic little Dreamcast, day one, I'm there.
It's probably coming.
Oh,
I mean,
I'll
they've got
go for that.
the mini nostalgic Atari, the mini nostalgic NES.
It's true, but the reason that I think, and by the way, I blame those third-party things, and this is purely speculation on my part. I'm making up conspiracies for why they didn't make enough of the NES classics. Reggie Fils-Aimé said at one point that the reason he apologized for them not making enough. He said our research showed that there wasn't. That there was interest in retro consoles, but not that much interest. And I suspect it's because they hadn't done these first-party ones before, and all that were available for them to look at were these third-party ones, which everyone knows are really shitty.
Yeah.
And so, I write those off. I would never even look at those as an option. But first-party stuff, I'm on board because I'm like, you made it. These are your games. It's all it's all done in-house. I'm sure I trust that it will be good quality. And that's why I have interest in first-party stuff. So if Sega made a mini Dreamcast, that'd be really cool. But if
A kill for Power Stone again.
I don't know, Flipbot 3000 made a mini Dreamcast,
Yeah,
I don't care.
I'd have to do research on it, and there'd definitely be issues, and you'd be like, you just want that ease of oh, it's first party, it's trusted to work.
Yeah, and they are announcing all these additional, they're doing the mini Atari, and they're doing a mini. Are they doing a mini Genesis? There are a couple of other mini consoles that just got announced because I think everyone saw the NES Classic and went, everyone wants retro consoles. I'm like, I don't think you get it. There's a really specific reason. I think the first party in this case is important. I think it's pretty critical to the experience. Or maybe I'm just being a snob. I don't know. If anyone has had a great experience with a third-party, mini retro console collection, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. I've never heard a good experience with one of those.
Most of them are private collections from the ROM variety.
Yeah, that is the other argument a lot of people come up with is why would you pay $80 for this? Why would you pre-order when you can just do this Raspberry Pi and get it for free? And the reason I don't do that is because that feels kind of illegal.
Super legal, but to be fair to them, no, it's still illegal. But it wasn't like there was an option. There was no competition, especially from first party.
Right, but there is now, so I don't feel.
Is there? Can I go buy one right now?
I mean, you can theoretically. They are at least like they're making. Look, they're making them. They're putting them on the market, so I don't feel right.
Yeah.
Like if there's no other way to get a game, if there's no other way to experience these old games, then I totally understand. That's a way of keeping them alive. That's like the memory essentially of like
Right.
how people can continue to play and experience. And so if it's the only way to introduce new people to these old games, I totally understand. But it's not. And if a company is making it available legally for sale, I don't feel right just going and downloading a bunch of ROMs. And if you do, then you do you. But I just don't feel right doing it.
I mean, you could argue too that a lot of these games were available on the Nintendo shop, right?
shop.
Like you can get a lot of these older titles.
Yeah, so, and for those wondering, let me go down the full list of the games that are available on the SNES Classic. It's Super Mario World, Super Mario Kart, Link to the Past, so you're in.
Yeah. Oh, and I had Metroid too, Super Metroid.
Yeah, F-Zero, Super Metroid, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Punch-Out, Castlevania 4,
Oh, I had that one.
Donkey Kong Country, Mega Man, is X or 10?
It's technically X, I think.
Okay.
But it
It's Mega Man X.
Yeah.
X,
With a
okay.
thumbs up.
Kirby Superstar, which is like an 8-game pack. Final Fantasy 3, Kirby's Dream Course, Star Fox,
Oh, Star Fox.
Yoshi's Island, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, Contra 3, Secret of Mana, Earthbound, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and then Star Fox 2.
Contra.
I rented Star Fox so many times I could have just bought it 3 times. R.I.P. Blockbuster.
Well, games were expensive, man.
They were.
It was like $60 even back then.
You know, I was too young. I
Which,
couldn't
like, when you think
upfront
about
the money.
that with inflation, is
Yeah.
so much more.
They were crazy expensive back then. They didn't really have a lot of competition.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and you get that sort of like they were this cutting edge technology at the
Wait.
time. Hey, at the time they were, right? You don't.
Cutting it, blowing into the cartridge.
I heard a thing about the blowing into the cartridge, which was that doesn't actually really help
and
all
it
that
just
much.
builds up like
But it managed
gunk
to.
stuff on the chip.
What's crazy about that though is that managed to spread. Everyone knows that that's the solution. And this is like pre-internet, kids just passing
Yeah,
it
you
from
didn't
person to
have-
person at school. This is like offline viral information.
It probably fixed some small things. Like
I think it might have been like this bit might have done might temporarily
lubed up the
Lubed up.
sort of like helped him, help make the contacts,
Spit is
but
an excellent conductor.
then it also like introduces new gross stuff into the cartridge, and so it's
Blow off the gross stuff and
well, it's kind of
spit on it
like
to get it conducted.
Cleaner
like the
gross
towel
stuff
trick
that's
for
on
the
it.
Xbox 360, right? Like it would melt some of the bits back together and
Oh, right,
help
right.
make the connections for red ringed
Resolder the-
consoles, so
yeah.
it would work again, and that's a short-term solution, not a long-term one.
Just make it hotter. That fixes everything. Sure.
Right, of course.
Make
that's
it
what we
dirtier
do.
to,
That's what we
to
always
fix
do.
the console. It's all perfect.
Yeah, but overall, I'm really enjoying the SNES Classic. I'm gonna install it at home. But we did a sleepover stream, which was really fun. Because Nintendo sent us one a little bit early. We had it there and we played it a bit, but we were also under embargo until a specific point, and that was like 11 p.m. It was basically midnight Eastern time when it would go on sale, and so we just stayed super late and put on onesies and played a bunch of Super Nintendo, and it was awesome. It was a lot of fun to be playing it and passing the controller back and forth between friends, to be doing like some of the 2-player Mario. It was great. Like made me feel like a kid again. Now I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go eat some more breakfast cereal and play Super Nintendo and be like, yeah. And then watch He-Man, because that's back too. I guess. Although I haven't.
There's a lot of
watched it.
weird stuff in He-Man when you really look back at that series.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear. I always wanted He-Man and She-Ra to get married, and then I found out they were twins, and I was like, well, that ruins everything.
Really, the fanfics got real weird at that.
And then the
point.
Lannisters were like, hey.
You can do it anyway.
We're gonna make it a thing. It's gonna be popular.
Yeah. So overall interest levels in SNES Classic, are you gonna get one? You're
I would
thinking
love,
maybe
I would love to
next year?
grab one
You're just not.
purely for Star Fox. Like,
So
Which
it's
is
not.
what I've heard is one of the disappointments of it, to be honest.
oh,
Yeah. I'm just saying that's what I've read on a couple different sites.
It's-
that
it
shot
is-
through the heart right there.
It's rough, but if you know going into it, like to expect it, then it's fine. I think the trick is that there, to some degree, you can't go home. You know, when I remember playing a bunch of these games. Like I remember playing Donkey Kong Country and thinking, oh my God, this is like a real like movie, or like it looks real. It's so amazing because it was such a step up
Claymation
in
sort of
terms
look.
of the number of pixels you could have and like the shading and all that. And it was like it's 3D-ish, and it was so cool. And now I go back and I'm like, oh, that's sweet. But so I can't. With going back to these games and playing a lot of them even for the first time, I'm not going to have that initial like, oh my God, it looks so amazing. So there's, it's unlikely that I'll like them as much as a lot of people who were in it when they were cutting edge, but I'll at least get the experience.
Yeah, I'll grab it because it's like the price of a game, really. And on top of that, I can go back and games like that I play, like Donkey Kong, where I was just so young I couldn't get past like the first or second level. I can go back and be like, hey, maybe I can get to the third one this time. Finally make that happen. So.
Your dreams do come true.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it's not. I don't think it's that costly for the nostalgia that I'll, ping every once in a while.
Yeah. How about you, Ryan? Is this something that you have any urge to like play with your kids and introduce them to?
Yeah, I mean that's probably one of the main things that I might try and pick one up for. Though again, I don't feel terribly optimistic about my chances of actually being able to get one. So
I think you will. There were some numbers released that were showing how many were shipped to different stores, and it was a lot of them were in the hundreds. Like they were hitting individual stores. So I think that it's going to be tricky to get through Christmas.
yeah,
Because I think it is the kind of thing that a lot of people who don't know what to get their kids will just be like, I remember when you were a kid and we got you the Super Nintendo, and look, here's a Super Nintendo. Happy 30th Christmas, or something like that. But I think after Christmas, it'll ease back a bit. And some of the pressure is off now that we know it's going to continue manufacturing into 2018 at least.
it's still this is my dubious face.
Look, be dubious. Nintendo has earned that doubt. They have earned that doubt. But there is reason as well to believe that it might be possible.
For somebody, yes.
For somebody.
If
yes.
it's going to be possible, I'd say if you're one of those people that really desperately wants one, you probably will be able to get one just by stalking it, much like trying to get a Switch early on. But if you're a casual interest, there's a chance that you just won't pay attention the one day that you could have gotten it and it'll be gone.
Yeah, that was a tricky thing with the NES. I ended up, I didn't have an NES Classic because I missed out on initial pre-orders until the very last restock that Best Buy did. And I got one on that very last one.
Slipped in right at the end.
Yeah. And that was one of those ones too where everyone knew it was going to be the last one. So it was like one of those, like everyone just be on the page. You need to be refreshing. You need to race through that. But
Crash this website.
I did it. Okay. Should we talk about the news?
Yeah.
All right, a couple things happened this week. Of particular note, Ryan has dropped one of these. Dude, these are like toys for you and Adam. You and Adam will love.
They work better with the.
coasters.
I need a Diet Coke.
Before we dive into the news, I have something really quickly to announce.
Is it out?
Stardew Valley.
Oh my God!
Final update.
All right, hold
It is
on. We're
released on the
pausing
Switch.
glitch. You know what?
Oh,
I'll start it downloading here. I need to go through. I need to do spreadsheets. I need to plan out my farm.
Oh
really
no!
important.
Spreadsheets for the farm.
You're like a
Are you telling me
That
that you're not doing
dedication.
farm planning?
No, I just kind of roll with it and then see.
Free form,
you know,
man.
free form, see who
You're not
likes
hippie
me.
enough for Stardew Valley, dude. You just gotta let nature tell you what's gotta go places, all right?
Look, I did one. Like on my first farm on PC, I just took things as they came.
Yeah,
And I ended up having to like navigate around my chicken coops to get to.
That's just nature.
my-
It's beautiful.
I
Let them
really
chickens
love
roam.
I love your hippie voice. Can you just do that forever?
Whoa.
But no, I'm at least going to start it downloading because it's been sort of frustrating. Although all credit to Tayuri and the entire Chucklefish crew, they've been very transparent about the whole thing. Like, hey, we've submitted. Doesn't mean it's approved. It might get sent back. We may have to resubmit. But just so you know, this is where we're at with it. Very much appreciated that. And also, he's like, I don't know what time it's going to be. Probably when the eShop refreshes, which we found out is 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. noon Eastern Time is when the eShop tends to
Interesting.
update.
You have reminded me, though, of something that is actually interesting to download.
Oh, how dare
shots
you!
fired. Damn.
Not download, but purchase. I heard from Gus the other day that
Golf story?
I took my my eye off the ball a bit, but apparently the wireless Vive adapters have finally, well, you can finally pre-order them. I don't think they've shipped yet.
Okay. Okay, so what does, how does it just plug into your existing system? How does it make it wireless?
It's basically just wireless HDMI and I guess wireless USB as well, and then a battery pack. And for some reason, I'm not getting internet right now. But not having to drag a cord around is kind of amazing when it comes to VR.
It's because I'm taking all the internet.
Why are you taking all the internet? from
Because
the
I'm
entire
downloading
building?
Stardew Valley.
But I need to know about wireless Vive headsets.
Purchase.
And Fallout 4 VR is about to come out too.
Fantastic.
Oh,
Okay.
there's your little noise.
Noise of happiness right there.
It is. Okay, so when things happened that are not Stardew Valley, the biggest news this week, I think, is Andrew House has announced that he is stepping down as the president of Sony Interactive Entertainment. Does that you're giving me, I don't know what that face is, Ryan. It looks,
I was like, cool.
you know what? Here, I'm just gonna read this. So, so he's the current president, global CEO, Andrew House. He's announced this week he's transitioning from operational management of SIE. He's going to remain as chairman through the rest of the year to ensure a transition with his replacement. And he's being replaced by Mr. Codera. I forget his first name. Can you look up his first name? I wrote down Mr. I was being very respectful, I guess.
Senor Codera.
Yeah, but Andrew House, he's been with PlayStation for 27
27, yeah.
years.
John
Long
Codera.
time.
John Codera, there we go. So he started, Andrew House started in 1990. He was corporate communications at Sony headquarters, and then he moved to marketing communications at Sony Computer Entertainment. He was there for the first PlayStation launch. He's been integral, really, through the entire life cycle of PlayStation as a brand. It's huge. You know, he was chief marketing officer for Sony, president and CEO of SCE Europe for a while, and then he was appointed president and group CEO of SCE for the PlayStation business worldwide since 2011. So he's been leading for PlayStation for the last 6 years. I think people would argue he's done a very good job. PlayStation 4 is doing very well. PSN is doing very well. PlayStation Plus doing very well. They've had a very solid slate of exclusive third-party games, a lot of very strong slate of first-party games. I think people would say, Andrew House, you done good.
So why is he leaving?
It just says, let's see, what does he say? He had a statement here.
He's being chairman for a couple of years, help with the transition, and then he wants to do more
through the rest of the
entertainment
year.
stuff, I
But yeah,
believe.
it seems like he wants to do something different.
Yeah.
Where
Like roll away in a giant pile of money, or? I mean, I feel like that's probably what I would do if I was the CEO of something like that for that amount of time.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I put his specific statement, but he was saying that he's really proud of everything. He's really happy with where it's going. He wants to do something a little bit different, and so he's stepping down, leaving. Also, you know, dude's going out on a friggin' high note.
Yeah.
Like if you're, you know,
Sony's
if you want
killing it
to,
right
if
now.
you are looking ahead a couple years at your career and you're like, I know I'm probably gonna, you know, either retire. It's been 27 years. Maybe the dude wants to go on a big ass vacation or something and just like enjoy life.
Sure.
A bit. That if you're looking ahead a few years and you're like, I can do it at some point, or look, it's all going really well right now. Everything is on a great track. I'm not too worried about it. Also, let's go out like, well, you know, while it's all real good.
I don't know. It's you get to a certain like executive level, and I'm like, how good? Yeah, nice. I'm sure life's gonna be real hard then and real hard now, and I'm bitter. I'm bitter because they get the imbalance in how people are paid these days.
Oh no, that I absolutely.
If he had run it into the ground, he would still have had to sprint to get out of the way of his golden parachute before it crushed him to death.
Well, the only reason, so I don't know a lot about John Codera, but here he has been at PlayStation for a long time as well, or he's been at Sony since 1992. So he's been there nearly as long. And he was first working on their portable audio business, and then he went to Sony Electronics, where he was doing planning and control of portable and mobile products, and then he became the VP of product management for IT products like PCs, and then in 2010 he became the senior vice president corporate strategy at Sony Network Entertainment. So he's been doing a lot with
all over
with PSN, I think, and PlayStation Plus, and a lot of the networks. So he's worked on, PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now, PlayStation View, PlayStation Video, PlayStation Music. So he does a lot of that sort of like network and services, and that's the side he's coming from, which could then, have some indications for the direction that he will be taking PlayStation in the future.
And I apologize to Sony people. You probably didn't deserve my ire. It's a general, the hippie in me is like, whoa, man, they're so far up there, and they just think that, but no. He's probably a great guy. I would say doesn't really, PSN is probably still one of the weakest parts of PlayStation.
Yeah.
In fact, last night I had a wonderful issue where I was just trying to watch Hulu on a PlayStation 3, and it kept telling me that I was not signed into PSN, and it turned out the issue was that there was a TOS update.
Brian, get back to work.
There was a TOS update, but it just kept not telling me that. Like I was on the thing, and it would start playing, and then it'd be like, you need to log into PSN to keep doing this. I'd be like, what the hell do you want? And it's like, you should really just exit whatever you're doing and just try and log in somewhere else. I was like, all right, fine. So I closed the thing and could finally go in over and just try and log in on the store. It's like, oh, there's a new TOS. It's like, why the hell didn't you just tell me that?
I think a lot of Sony stuff, and PS3 at this point, I think the UI is more or less like what it is. They're not going to be making a lot of changes to it, but I feel like UI navigation and like having a lot of those issues also a lot of times comes down to just being used to a certain platform and like certain ecosystems.
Oh no, Xbox is terrible
and like
too.
how they do things.
They're all bad.
Yeah.
Right, but at least I have enough of a history with Xbox that when something happens, I can like think through and be like, and I have a pretty good idea of what I need to do because I've probably had to do it before. Whereas, with PlayStation, I had a PS3. I played some PS3 games on it. Ni no Kuni was my jam. But PS4, I've been playing more PlayStation stuff, but I don't have as much familiarity with the UI as I do with like the classic Xbox UI. And to be fair, the Xbox One UI keeps changing so much that I have no idea what's going on with that at any given time. But with PlayStation, sometimes I'll be like, I'm not 100%
What do you
sure
want from me,
where to go or what to do.
What can I do to make you happy? Apparently, that's how this relationship works. Is I try to make you happy. You don't try to make me happy.
Right, but if I went and said like, "Hey, Greg Miller, I don't know what to do," he'd be like, "Oh, you go here, you go here, you go here, you go here," because he's just more familiar with the ecosystem.
Yeah, no, I mean, ultimately though, it's kind of an issue that affects, I think, an industry at large, because I used to work in user experience, and frequently it's the kind of thing where people will overlook how important it is. So, hey, my hat's off to you, everybody out there that works in UI or UX experience, because I know that people above you don't listen to you when you say like, this isn't a good idea, and they're like, we're gonna do it anyway. So my hat's off to you.
Or they'll be like,
Except
I don't think that's really gonna affect it.
Yeah, no, but it does.
You can always tell when a UI has been developed by the programmer and not by a specific UI person.
Yep, that was when I was working in my previous job. UI development was something that barely existed. Like it was me and one other guy. And that's just because a lot of people don't understand the value of it and a value of making an experience that is good for the user, not just good for ad placement.
Yeah,
So,
it's tricky. But
I'm not bitter.
I'm very curious to see where Codera ends up taking PlayStation, mostly because when you get shakeups at the top like that, this is the role that reports directly to Kaz Hirai. And so, you have a lot of oversight in the direction of the entire business, and you can see pretty significant shifts. As an example, when so Don Matrick was the big boss at Xbox when the Xbox One came out. When it was announced, he was clearly guiding it in the direction of Kinect, of the online services, and like really pushing in that direction. And then it was not as well received as they would like. A lot of people were not happy about the language they use. I think a lot of it probably did come down to language when they were announcing that they were going to be like, here, you can like lend out games to friends and stuff. And you just check in once a day, and that's fine, right? But Microsoft can sometimes be some of the worst communicators in the world. And so but it's like this always online requirement, and no one's happy. He exits. Phil Spencer comes in. Phil Spencer has been working with Microsoft Studios. He's a games guy. He loves his games. And now you can tell the influence he's had because Kinect, yeah, that's not a thing anymore.
No.
Like online services, yeah, they're there, they're good, but it's focused very much on game stuff now. So a lot of the online services is like backwards compatibility and building that library and building out like what they're doing with games. And it's a tough job because he's probably, it takes years to do something like what I'd say like what Andrew House has done of building up like the contracts and getting games in development, like first party stuff. So we're still kind of potentially suffering from a bit of neglect in that department.
I feel like Sony helped whip them into shape too, because I've been a hardcore like Xbox fanboy for the longest time, and I forget what E3 it was where Microsoft was just like entertainment, and then Sony just came out and was like games.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, they're not doing like the whole typical Sony spreadsheets on spreadsheets and statistics. Like they just came out, they talked about games, and they left, and I was like, ooh. Man, don't look good for Xbox fanboys right now.
Yeah, because remember when they announced the Xbox One, they announced it before E3 and they showed all entertainment stuff because they were saving the game stuff for E3, which I'm sure in their heads sounded like the totally logical thing to do, where they would come out and they would share like all these additional features and then they would come big with the games at E3. But all anyone saw was a console that was all about TV.
They launched a fancy cable box, is what they launched.
Yeah.
Right, that also was going to spy on them once a day. It was.
And it had eyes to do it with.
It's such a rough announcement, but I'm curious to see how Codera is going to influence PlayStation. Like if we're going to see any big shifts in direction, because that's the thing too with when you get a new boss in, they're going to want to put their stamp on things, right? They're not just going to want to pick up the reins and do exactly what the last guy was doing. They're going to want to make their own mark.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely. That's the way to do it.
So coming soon, PlayStation 5, all streaming services. Oh no. All right, we talked about that for a very long time. That was not intentional, but it was a good discussion. There are some other good discussions to be had. However, like Bethesda has said that, and this was, I think, came at a contentious time, but they said that they aren't guided by fan demands on what they develop. The big one, of course, being everyone saying, where is Elder Scrolls 6? And so he did an interview recently where he was talking about how they don't feel beholden to make their development decisions based on like fan feedback or what fans are telling them that they want. He was saying that ultimately we're going to try and do the things that we think are best for the games that we're making, because that's honestly all I can really control. I've tried to help mitigate some of that. I did go to Todd Howard, the director of Bethesda Game Studios, a few E3s ago and said, everyone's going to ask us about Elder Scrolls 6. You have to help me. You have to help me come out and say what the studio's path is and when Elder Scrolls 6 is coming, and try to manage expectations. Development teams aren't just a vending machine where you press a soda and they just go back and forth. They want to be able to stretch their legs creatively or try a new idea or do something different and not just fall into the same pattern. And he pointed to, specifically he pointed to Horizon Zero Dawn, saying that if that developer had just stayed doing what they were known for or what that the studio fans were asking for, they would still be doing Killzone games and we wouldn't have Horizon. But they decided to go in another direction, something that was wildly different, take a risk, and they got Horizon out of it. And Horizon's great.
That was a great game.
So it comes at an unfortunate time because right now the fan feedback that Bethesda is getting is not please where's Elder Scrolls 6, it's we hate paid mods.
Yeah.
And so I think what a lot of the response to him saying that is going to be is people being like, oh, they're ignoring our feedback about these features.
I mean, that's sort of the industry we work in faces a very similar sort of process where there's a lot of people that are going to have an opinion about what you should do. And to some degree, they should be heeded. At the same time, you have to remember that most of that feedback is coming from people who aren't doing what you're doing. So it's very easy from the outside to go, this is what you should do. Just give us more of this and when we'll be happy.
Right, like didn't we discuss, was it last week where everyone's like, just change the engine, no big deal, how hard can it be?
Things
like
like
a lot
that.
of like armchair developers.
I mean, if you look at like Rooster Teeth Productions, if they had just stuck with RVB, like that's what
none of us would be here.
That's, I mean, yeah, there's something to be said for branching out and going new direction, find something new. Sometimes you got to take those risks to get some kind of reward to find something that's going to work for your company.
Yeah.
And a risk means that sometimes they don't work out.
But it doesn't mean they're ignoring their audience. It means that their audience feedback is being heard, but sometimes that's just not the time to do what the audience thinks they want.
Right, I think sorry.
I feel like with companies like Bethesda, they've proven themselves, right? Like with like Naughty Dog, Bethesda, like they make great games. Just let them just keep doing what they want to do.
Look, there are a lot of people who would disagree with that
Yeah,
about
no,
Bethesda in
definitely.
particular right now. I know that like I enjoyed Fallout 4. I enjoyed Skyrim. I'm probably not going to play it on its 6th or 7th new platform, but I enjoyed those games. There are a lot of people who are unhappy with Fallout 4 in particular, with just the level of polish. They felt it was shallower than what they were led to believe it was going to be. It was shallower than what they were expecting, what they expect of a Fallout game. So there are a lot of people who don't think Bethesda is on the right track with games right now. And that, I think, is, it's a very personal sort of opinion. Like,
Yeah,
are you
no,
happy
definitely.
with it? Are you not happy with it? I don't think it necessarily makes it a bad game, but it can make it one that you are not satisfied with. And that is legitimate. If you play a game and you're not happy with it, I think that's a legitimate criticism. You can have that. You're totally entitled to it. But one of the things that I like about Bethesda is that I have enjoyed so many of their games that they do have a level of trust from me. That when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, whenever that may be, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get a game that I will like playing, and so I'm okay with that. But it also means that like maybe I as a fan will be like, hey Bethesda, I'm really excited about Elder Scrolls 6. When am I gonna get that shit, right? And I think that's maybe a lot of what they hear is like people are asking for that because they're excited for it because they want it. But we as gamers can also sometimes go overboard and be like, why the fuck would you work on Evil Within 2?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that. I have no interest in that. Why aren't you working on this instead? And I think that's where that sort of comes into effect.
Yeah. There's a lot of give and pull because you also get the people who hated Fallout but then played like 400 hours of Fallout. It's like, okay, I get it. Like, it's not exactly what you wanted, and sure, it was shallow, but you still got a lot of good time out of it. Like
you did keep playing.
you did keep playing. You did dump in as much time as you paid for it, if not even more. So
I'm sure with Elder Scrolls, there's the extra fear that it's gonna. I mean, World of Warcraft never got another World of Warcraft RTS title after they went MMO.
Warcraft 3, please.
It's never gonna happen. No. Warcraft 4 is gone forever.
Well, I don't know. Look, if we get a remaster, right? So they're talking about a remaster of Warcraft 3, and if we get that, and people are like, dude, Warcraft 3 is the shit, then maybe we'll get a Warcraft 4. But it's a long way off. You're right.
It's the MMOs can sometimes kill series, and that's probably what a lot of the concern is too. Is don't
expansions on expansions.
don't just keep pumping all your development into making Elder Scrolls Online bigger. Give us another standalone title.
Right. So
Which Final Fantasy did. I mean, it's something that can happen where you go in and out of the MMO zone, but
not always.
not always. Sometimes that's hell for a single player title.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to when they do announce it, and I agree with Pete in that I like studios to have a vision and to some degree stick to it. I think there can definitely be room for feedback. Like in the next title, be like, oh, people, said they wanted more of this, and so we can look at if that fits into like the sort of vision, also what we can do technically, and try and build that in. But I think that it's important for developers to have a vision and be guided by that, because that's how we get unique, cohesive games, right? If you just try and like do a checklist of like what people said they want, it might fall apart.
True.
That said, I do want Elder Scrolls 6. But while we're talking about Bethesda, anyway, the other another interesting thing that just happened is one of the Obsidian developers who worked on Fallout New Vegas, which a lot of people do hold up as the best of the recent Fallout titles, said, yeah, dude, consoles held us back so much. There's so much we could have done with the game if only it worked for consoles. Let me see if I can find the quote here. He said,
Specifically about Fallout, or?
It's specifically about Fallout New Vegas, about being like if it had been PC only versus having it on console.
Right.
And it
Restricted
says,
by the hardware?
yeah, it says the game would have been a lot different if it was PC only. We had a lot of plans early on, like here's where the water is stored, here's where the farms are, here's where the government's centralized. We had it all planned out. It wasn't just a bunch of random stuff. Some of that content still made its way into the game, but in like limited forms. But he says we could have gone further than that. We had to simplify, so we had less stuff that would bog down the game engine. And a lot of it is because he said they were limited by consoles. He said we would have had fewer performance issues. We did break it up a bit, but from my point of view, it was a performance-related game, and we had to fix things. It would have been more separate zones, I think, put a big wall around the whole thing, and you just see a big tower and a bunch of little zones. And that was specifically about the Mojave Wasteland, but also the version of the strip that you saw in the final game was very different from what it was in the trailers, because they had to like scale a lot of that back. And I think part of it was engine based, because the engine was showing its age, but also that they were working with limited console hardware with limited memory and like limited resources, and so they scaled all of it back, including the PC version, to meet console needs.
I will say that's kind of an interesting turn from where we are now versus where we are then. Now, I don't know how much of this at E3 was developers that are just trying to stay on Microsoft's good side or something, but so many of them that we talked to that are developing for multiple platforms, including Xbox One X, said that the Xbox One X has been a really valuable tool in actually streamlining the performance across all platforms. Developing the tools that were on the Xbox One X were actually making the developers have an easier time making the game run better on PC.
And the trick about that is that we might not see the results of it for a while because of game development timelines. But if that's the case, I think that's a good thing for everyone involved, because PC gamers do sometimes get shafted in ports. You can definitely tell when a game is developed console first, and then they
Call of Duty.
and then they just go like, we should put it on PC too, and they do some keyboard and mouse mapping, and they're like, what's optimization? I don't think we have time for that, and then just like shove it out the door, and then you get all these different configurations on PC that it's just broken.
Hopefully that day is passing. But I mean, especially now that Microsoft is more focused on having titles that are available on both PC and
Windows
and their consoles platforms. So
Yeah.
now that may, how does that affect things that go to PlayStation as well? Yeah.
We'll see. We shall see. But I would like that to be the case, because just this year there have been a lot of crappy PC ports. Let's see. Nier
every
Automata,
year.
still broken.
Is it?
There are a lot of people who it works fine for on PC, but there are a lot of PC configurations that it's just boned.
Nice.
There have been like fan patches put out. Months ago, Square Enix promised to fix it. We've seen nothing yet.
Ouch.
And that's just, which is one of many. I'm trying to think. Let's see. I remember when Dishonored 2 came out. I installed it on PC. I was really excited because I was like, finally got a really good PC. It's gonna look amazing. Installed it, and I could only display the top left quarter of the screen for some reason. That's all it would show.
Ard?
I don't know why.
It works as well as that word did.
So but that's just
Odd.
there are a lot of games where PC feels like an afterthought.
But then you do have games like Destiny where it's like, whoa, they're really thinking about this.
Is that out yet?
No, it
No.
isn't. It isn't. But,
But
at
the
the same
beta
time, like when you play Destiny 2 on PC, it's like, wow, this feels like a game that runs well on PC. I go in, you have the options, you have all in the advanced settings for your video card and everything. And sure, there's a 6-week delay, but at the same time, it's like I'd rather have that than a really crappy port that eventually slowly gets patched and it's not at the end of the day doesn't really come out that well.
That's fair. Though the game is already dead to me. So that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Are you just out of things to do?
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's how that game goes. There's a cycle to it where you play and then you get to a certain point and you beat the raid and then maybe you beat the raid 1 or 2 more times. Though I would say that
And hit max light level. But by dead, we're talking about like we've already pumped like 60 hours into it.
Yeah.
And got
I'm
to
not
the
saying-
end
yeah.
game and everything. Yeah.
I certainly got my money's worth out of playing the game. It's just that it's not one of those games that you just want to continue grinding forever. So I'm not 305, but I'm close enough that also knowing how the cycle of that game goes, where it's like, all right, they're going to release a DLC.
Light levels gonna go
Immediately
up.
upon releasing the
Power level.
DLC, I'll pick up a blue item that's better than anything in my inventory.
Yep.
So it's like, all right, I'm good. I don't need to play it right now.
Yeah, fair enough. It does raise an interesting point, though, that it makes you question not every game, but like the ambition of some games. Like, how much better could this have been if this was a PC-only game?
I don't know. I like to think now with the coming of the Xbox One X, the PlayStation 4 Pro, that we're getting to an era where consoles are getting better at keeping up with parity on PC. Because there've been developments in graphics cards technology, graphics card technology, but honestly, the processor market's been kind of, well, Ryzen's out now, which has kind of been a bit of a shakeup, but it's not really affecting game play that much. So the back end, the CPU that goes behind gaming has not been radically altered in quite a while.
Intel's held the market and they've just been cruising.
Yeah, it's all gone to multi-threaded, and multi-threaded is something that gaming still hasn't done a great job of incorporating. And just by the nature of how a game works, it's not something that works, that needs a lot of simultaneous processes. It's all reacting to what you're doing quickly. So graphics cards are great, and they've been getting better and better and better. But even then, we're starting to kind of hit a wall where it's not really improving as much as it was.
Yep.
So consoles are able to catch up a little bit.
It does seem like the conversation has shifted more towards resolution and frame rate and away from feeling like consoles are bogging down gameplay.
Things have gotten very pretty, especially that we just played some of Battlefront 2 that we were playing on PC. Games are very pretty. Battlefield 1, Battlefront were both very, very pretty games, even on console. Now it's like, let's clean it up. Let's make it run slightly faster. Let's get the frame rate up. Let's maybe get rid of a little bit of the aliasing that's still there. But aside from that, those two games looked amazing regardless of which platform you played it on. Yeah. So the game engines are getting there to where visual fidelity is really, really good. Just give me more frames. Let me see that visual fidelity a little bit faster.
Do you prefer resolution frame rate?
Well, you kind of, I don't want to play at 720 and I don't want to play at 30 if I can avoid it. So I want both. I'd rather have 1080 60 or more.
Okay. Mm-hmm. If you can have 720 60 or 1080 30, what do you pick?
Probably 1080, because resolution makes it much crisper in terms of what you look at. And at least if I just don't move, then it's fine if it's 30.
Beautiful wallpaper.
Mm-hmm. And I'm used to 30, so 30 doesn't hurt my brain like it like lower resolution does.
Okay.
I'm all about competitive shooters, so for me, it's like I need more than 100 frames. Like there is a big difference when it comes to shootings, like shooter games, in terms of frame rate, etc. Like I'll even play Counter-Strike, and I'll play at like 1200 by 800. Simply because one, frame rate, but two, also the fact that like it gets to the point where like competitive shooters, where the higher the resolution, like 2K, 4K, where everything just becomes really super tiny and crisp, which is awesome for like that whole visual standpoint. But from that competitive perspective, it's like, oh, if I play 1080, his head's like slightly larger, even though everything doesn't look as clear, as opposed to 4K, where it's like, oh, little tiny like dot on the side, like. So I'm on that frame rate type of grind.
Fair enough. I think for me, it's probably genre specific. I think like slower
too.
games, like puzzle games or whatever, I would prefer resolution because I don't need the performance. But yeah, if it's something that
Yeah, if it's single player,
if it's moving really
you know what I
fast
mean?
and there's a lot going on, frame rate's
yeah,
much more
it's like The
important.
Last of Us or something like that.
Yeah.
Give me that on 4K, make it look real pretty. You know.
All right, so that is this episode of Glitch Please. We'll be back next week. We'll talk more news, more games, more stuff. And if you are watching this, please give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, some feedback. Did you like Cuphead? Do you have any additional tips for how to survive Cuphead besides get good, which I totally know? Or let us know what you think of the SNES Classic, if you managed to get one, if you're still going to look for one, if you've given up entirely, as well as what you think of Andrew House leaving PlayStation, Bethesda and their give that back. Bethesda and their stance on fan feedback and guidance. And please, if you are listening to this, leave us a review on on the podcast service of your choice, so that other people can find this podcast and enjoy it as well. That helps us out a whole bunch. And if you're a Rooster Teeth First member, we have our post-show New Game Plus. You can find that on the website, and that is just for firsties. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks.